also a lot of events happening across the board with HPE Day and everything as well. All right. Let's get these slides off of the screen. So today we're going to, there we go. Today we're going to be using a mat and a foam roller, no trigger point ball today. So if you have a foam roller, then we are going to be using that. If not, that's okay. We're not going to be using that for the entire session. But if you don't have one, I highly recommend looking into getting one because they are like the #1 tool for myofascial release, which is a huge part of mobility. So let's go ahead and get started actually with the foam roller. So today we're going to be focusing on the hips to the foot and everything in between. So we're going to be moving from the ankles to the lower leg, upper leg, all the way up into the hips, all of which can give us a lot of trouble if they are tight or imbalanced. All of them play a huge role in our mobility, our function, and our stability to walk, run, squat, etc. So we want to make sure that we're mobile in all of those highly used areas. So we're going to start out with the foam roller. And I'm basically going to work my way up my leg to start out. So with the foam roller, I'm going to start out in a seated position, and I am going to start out with the calf muscles. So with the calves, you basically want to roll from just above your ankle, and you can roll that all the way up to right below the back of your knee. Whenever I do this, I go both legs at a time. And you can just slide yourself forward and back. And the big thing to remember, whenever you're doing this rolling, you don't want to go too fast. You're going nice and slow, making sure to really put pressure on each area that you're rolling. If you want to go more pressure, you can cross one foot over the other and then roll up and in a calf. Calves can be a little tender, so a lot of times I will disperse my body weight out. Do both at one time. If you find an area that's tight, tender, needs a little bit more focus on that point, then you can just hang out there and keep pressure. That's what we're looking to do, is to hold pressure. So you don't have to actively roll the whole time. All right. Next up, we're going to do hamstrings. So go ahead and move that foam roller. Now you're going to go from right above the back of the knee all the way to the bottom of your hips. All that muscle tissue in there. With the hamstrings, you can go 2 legs at one time. The hamstrings, they're a larger muscle. They can handle a little bit more pressure. So if you want, you can cross one leg over the other. And then put your whole body weight on one hamstring at a time. And whenever I do this, this is like I said, a very large muscle. And so it can help just to kind of rotate your leg or rotate your hips so that you hit the inside of the back of your thigh, the outside of the back of your thigh, instead of just that midline of the leg. And whenever you do that, you might, as you're exploring, you might find some spots that are more sensitive or tender. Those are the spots where you want to hold pressure. Not so much that it's painful and your muscles tensing up, but just enough so that you can keep that muscle relaxed, but you can obviously feel that pressure being put on there. I'm going to switch over to my other hamstring now. If you're doing both hamstrings, just keep it up. I'm going to spend just a few seconds. I hit it for a little bit, so I won't spend as long. But and if you notice, I'm just using my hands behind me to kind of modulate how much of my body weight I'm pressing down on. So if you pick those hips up fully, then you'll get your full body weight on, or you can rest your hips on the floor and just slide back and forth. All right. We're going to move up to the hips now. And so I'm going to sit on my foam roller. I'm going to start out by crossing my right leg over my left. Now that you do that, instead of sitting on your tailbone like we are now, With that right leg crossed over the left, you're going to slightly rotate your body to the right. So now I'm on the right side of my hip. You don't want to be positioned so far over that you're actually like on your hip bone or anything. But you want to be out to the side of your tailbone, not actually rolling muscle. Anytime we do foam rolling, want to make sure hit the muscle tissue, not the bone. And I would be pretty careful as you do this. Use that hand and that foot that has contact with the floor to help kind of pick up your body weight as needed, because the sides of the hips that we're hitting here, they can get super tender, really tight, especially if you spend a lot of time sitting, or if you're just hitting the abductors in your workouts a lot as well. But those can get really sensitive, so be careful with how much pressure you're putting on them. All right, I'm gonna cross my left leg over my right leg. I'm shifting my hips to the left a little bit, and then doing the same thing. And this spot that we're working on, not as big as some of the other muscles like the hamstrings, and so you don't have to actually roll up and down quite as big an area, so you can really kind of center in on one specific spot that you find is tender. I will say too, it can be tender, especially if you're pressing on a nerve. If you feel any tingling, pull away. We don't want to really be pinching our nerves. But if it is extra sensitive, then yeah, just pull off some of the body weight, but keep pressure on that area. All right. Great job, guys. Okay, we're going to ditch our foam rollers. So that was some of our muscle release movements that we've got for today. Next up, we are going to do some stretches to start to lengthen out muscles as well, now that we have released them. So we're going to start out on our backs, and then I'm going to cross my right leg over my left, and then we're going to go into a figure four stretch. You can either hold behind your left leg, or you can hold on your left shin. If you hold the shin, it's going to give you a deeper stretch. If you want a more mild stretch, then you can hold behind the hamstring. Just depends on how tight you are, what your current mobility flexibility is. But once you get in that position, we're just going to hold for a few seconds. So in this portion where we are trying to lengthen the muscle, you got to spend a few seconds on each side to give that muscle enough time to actually stretch out. All right, we're going to do the same thing, but with the other leg. So cross the left leg over the right. Cool. Grab that right leg and then relax. And whenever I do holds like this, a lot of the time I'll kind of interlock my fingers. That way I can kind of relax in the position, not having to really hold on for dear life to keep that position. Very nice. All right, we're going to stay on the floor on our back. And I'm going to start out with my left leg on this. We're going to do a bit of an active hamstring stretch. So what I'm going to have you do is grab onto the back of your left leg, right above the back of your knee on your hamstring. And then from there, tuck the knee in. We're keeping that knee in the same position and space as we try to extend our leg. So you're trying to straighten your leg out. If you can't completely lock out your leg, that's totally fine, and it's completely normal. But we're going to feel a nice big pull in the back of the leg. And as you can see, I am just doing slow, controlled repetitions. So I'm trying to straighten that leg out as far as I can, holding for 2 seconds or so. and then slowly releasing. One big part of mobility is actively moving through a range of motion, not just stretching. All right, let's do the same thing with the right leg. Hold the back of the leg, pull that knee in, and extend. Nice, slow and controlled. Fantastic. Let's get just a couple more. All right. Nice job. All right, still staying with our stretching. Stay on the floor. Now we're going to shift to our side. So I'm going to rotate over to my right side, get in whatever position with the arm is most comfortable to you. But then we're going to go into a sideline quad stretch. So my leg on top right now is my left leg. So I'm going to grab my left foot or ankle, whatever's most comfortable. And then I'm going to hold. And you can get a deeper stretch on this the further back you pull your knee. One thing to remember though is you don't want to just force that knee back whenever you don't have the mobility for it, because that can put a big arch in your back. That can put some tension on your lower back. So we don't want to do that. And we've been doing some sprinting and some cardio here on site lately, so I can totally tell my quads are tight. So for me, this position works great, but if you can pull that knee back a little further, go for it. All right, do the same thing on the other side. So now I'm gonna flip over, laying on my left side. My right leg's on top. Gonna grab that right foot or ankle, whatever's most comfortable, and then we're gonna hold. And if you struggle to reach the foot or stay in position or anything like that, you can technically do this with a band as well. You can wrap a band around the foot, grab onto that band, and pull back, where you can have someone help you by pulling on the band. That one works really well. The banded quad stretch works really well whenever you're on your stomach. You can kind of pull that band over your shoulder. All right. Very nice job. Moving on. We're going to go to the calf. And you can do this against a wall. I'm going to just kind of press myself up against my foam roller. But we're just going to do a very basic calf stretch. So you're going to keep your heel on the ground, shift your body weight forward, and then hold. So you want to shift that body weight forward until you feel the tight pull on the calf muscle. Don't want that heel to pop up though, because that's when we lose the stretch. Hold that for just a few more seconds. And you can go ahead and switch sides. Now I'm going to go right foot back, driving my heel into the ground, keeping that heel in contact with the floor, shifting my body weight forward. Probably the easiest way to do this is to get up against the wall so you can really throw that weight forward. And then hold. And we're not spending too long on this, but with the calves, they get really tight. So, I mean, you can hold each one of these stretches for 30, 60, 90 plus seconds on each side. Muscles really respond well to extended periods of time being stretched. Great for the flexibility. All right. Nice job. And then we're going to move into a soleus stretch. So for the soleus stretch, we're going to go into a kneeling position. Now I've got my knee bent. I'm going to drive my front heel into the ground. Keep that heel in contact with the floor as I drive my knee forward. Very similar to the calf stretch. We're hitting our soleus now. You're going to feel the pull a little bit lower on this one. So you could feel that pull down into the heel or your lower calf. Might feel a little tension on that Achilles tendon. Definitely don't want to go to the point of pain whenever you're talking about a tendon right there. So just go until you feel the pull. We don't want it to be super uncomfortable. Go ahead, switch sides. Now I've got my left foot forward. Drive that heel into the ground. Drive your knee forward and then hold. Likewise, not going to spend a ton of time on this, but you can really hold for an extended period of time if you go back and do any of these on your own. All right, fantastic. Now we've got just a couple of minutes left, and I think it's always good at the end of mobility sessions to include a few activation exercises. Part of mobility is actively moving through ranges of motion, so we want to make sure that the right muscle groups are active and are being used. So we're going to start out with just a very basic ankle roll. I'm popping one foot off the ground. You can grab onto something. If you need help with balance. But then I'm just popping my right foot off of the floor, and I'm doing nice big ankle rolls. Starting out going clockwise. And after a few seconds, I'm going to switch it up. Now I'm going counterclockwise. Also, this is a great one just to keep those ankles loose and active. While you're sitting at your desk or anything like that, you can just pick a foot up, start doing those ankle rolls. Same thing, other side. Fantastic. All right. Then our last movement of the day. I'm going to keep those ankle rolls up a little bit longer. Last movement of the day, you're going to want a wall, something that you can lean onto. So here in a second, I'm going to use that wall behind me. But we're going to do some anterior tibialis raises. So it's basically the opposite of a calf raise. We're raising up our toes in the front of our foot up off of the floor. It's using that muscle pretty much on the front side, right next to the shin. So go ahead and lean up against a wall. As you do so, I'm going to have just slightly bent knees, so soft knees. And then as you're leaning against the wall, pull those toes in the front of your feet as high up as you can. Try to give it about a 1 second pause at the top. And then we're just doing nice, slow, controlled repetitions of this. These are super important muscles that don't get hit very often. Nice job. And these come right out of energy pretty quickly. So if you're not able to raise your foot up as high each time you do a rep, that's completely normal. Just see if you can keep going, even if you get to the point where all you can do is kind of raise your toes up off the floor. Just a couple more. All right. Nice job. And that, excuse me, that is everything that we have for today's mobility session. So thank you so much for joining me. Feel free to go back and do any of the movements that we did for extended periods of time. If you really want to hit a certain muscle group for longer, feel free to do so. But hope you have a great rest of your day. See you all next time.